Now we are going to talk about your first day of tutoring. We're going to talk about the first day separate from kind of our Tutoring 101 because your first day is going to be a little bit different from the rest of your tutoring sessions. Now, on the first day, you have two primary objectives. The first is that you are there to help students learn, not to be a best friend. Obviously, you should still be friendly and have fun with your student, but your role is as a tutor to help them learn. To do that, you need to be an authority figure and not a best friend. And your second objective is to help students feel comfortable working and learning with you. The reason this is an objective is because students will learn and retain lesson material much better if they are comfortable and feel safe. This in turn will help them learn more effectively and progress more quickly. To help you achieve both of these objectives, there are 4 things you should be sure to do on your first day. We call these 4 things the first day checklist, and these 4 things are introductions, goal setting, discussing expectations, and starting to establish routines. We will start by discussing introductions and the basics of introductions. First, make sure to greet students by name. Also, spend some extra time on your first day getting to know your student. Ask open-ended questions. Some common introduction topics are siblings, favorite things, like color, movies, summer activities, so on. And remember to introduce yourself too. It's important that the student gets to know you as well as you getting to know the student. Remember, an introduction can take many forms. It can be as simple as having a conversation, or if you're in a small group, it could be an icebreaker activity. It's also important for your tutoring relationship that you continue to spend time greeting and getting to know your students even after your first day. Now, some of this probably seems very obvious, and you may be wondering why we're spending time talking about it. So why are introductions important? They're important because over time, introductions will help build a relationship and also set the tone of your relationship with your student. Introductions also help students feel more comfortable. Remember that second objective. That's why introductions are so important. And introductions also help create a sense of community in small groups. The one last thing I want to mention about introductions is that you should expect some awkwardness, especially on the first day as you and your student start to get to know each other. Don't be discouraged, continue to be positive and ask questions, and both you and your student will soon feel more comfortable as you get to know each other. Now, the second item on the first day checklist is setting goals. Now, before you set goals with a student, it's important to have a conversation, again, either in person or via email, with the teacher about what the long-term goals are for the student, so that you can help the student set goals that will align with that teacher's goal for the student. When you set goals, you should encourage the student to participate and ask them what goals they want to set for themselves. And this will help get them invested in your tutoring session and will help them stay engaged. And you should set with the student both short and long-term goals. And a short-term goal could even be as simple as setting a goal just for the day, or you could set a goal for the month, or a long-term goal could be for the semester. For example, a goal for a day could be you want to read an entire chapter. Now, goals obviously will vary widely based on the individual student, but here are some examples of goals that teachers have set in the past. So increasing the number of words read correctly in 1 minute, meeting certain benchmarks on certain tests, improving grades, and so on. Now, the third item on the first day checklist is discussing expectations. Clearly stating your expectations at the beginning of your tutoring relationship will ensure that you don't have any future misunderstandings about these expectations. So be sure to talk about what your standards are for behavior and participation during your session. Be sure to go over what is appropriate and what is not. Have some examples to talk about. Also, talk about what will happen if there is inappropriate behavior, and we'll go into more detail on that specifically later in the orientation. And we do want to make sure that students know they are expected to be active participants and to contribute to the tutoring session. If you work in a small group, make sure to go over the procedure for taking turns and how students should respect others' contributions. And the last item on the first day checklist is establishing routines. Now, routines will likely take more than 1 or 2 sessions to really settle in, but you should go over them with students on your first day, and this will help students know what to expect when they work with you, which again will make them feel much more comfortable working with you, which remember is your second objective for your first day. So when you're establishing routines, you should start by telling your students how you will usually start and end the session. For example, you may set a timer as a reminder to head back to class. You may always start a small group session with an icebreaker question, things like that. You should also discuss what a typical session will look like. For example, if you are going to be reading with a student, maybe your typical session will be that you will read together for 10 minutes, then you will discuss what you read for 10 minutes, and then you will head back to class. And it's important, again, to discuss what that typical day will look like so students will know what to expect. If during your tutoring session you'll be using technology like iPads, make sure to go over it with your students at this time and show them how you will be using it during your sessions. So, why are routines and expectations important? Discussing expectations and establishing routines are very important because they're the 2 things you can do that will very quickly help students feel comfortable and safe working with you. And remember, when students feel comfortable and safe, they learn material better and they progress more quickly. So, to summarize what we've talked about today, on your first day of tutoring, you have 2 objectives. One is to help students learn by being a tutor, not a best friend. You have to be an authority figure. And 2 is to help students feel comfortable working with you, again, because the sooner they feel comfortable, the sooner they will settle in and start learning more effectively. Also on your first day, you need to complete the first day checklist. And there are 4 items on the checklist, which includes introductions, setting goals, discussing expectations, establishing routines. If on your first day you've gone through all of that and you still have some time, go ahead and get started tutoring and have fun.